Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
The year is 3013. The galaxy is scintillating in the mellow light. Two galactic pilgrims seek out vistas in the samurai future to bring forth the unity of the cosmic shaman. Opening the door of the pantheon of mystics, the evil sorcerer wizard powers the engine of science, seeking to forever alter the sacred balance, traveling on effervescent balls of summer fire.
This week, the Black Hole.
In the year 2012, Disney decided they want a bite of that Star Wars pie. But had they ever tried before?
So today's black hole is sort of like the kid that's outside the house and getting grandma's pie off the windowsill. That's the black hole.
Is it? I feel like it's just not discussed at all.
Yeah, it's pretty forgotten. Like, if you think about this at all, it's usually 20,000 Leagues Under a Sea, but in space. But
I watched it this morning for this, and I think I'd seen it once on TV as a kid. And between those two events, I forgot it existed.
That tends to happen. But I guess we should get to introductions. This is Matt.
This is Luke.
This is our...
This.
You go ahead. You can do that.
This is Andrew.
That's Andrew. I was going to give you an intro. I was going to build you up. I was going to say...
Dude.
I was going to say, today we have a guest.
In our sci-fi sanctuary.
In our sci-fi sanctuary. So, yes, he is the ringleader of the Gonzoriffic underground film collective, doing feminist and bizarro film. He's a writer for the Athens Bannered Herald's film stuff, does a podcast for them, and that's film Cinemaphile. That's the name, right?
Yep.
Okay, I thought so.
That's the name.
And
yeah, I made Space Boobs in Space.
He made Space Boobs in Space, which is approved by Wesley Crusher. This is Andrew Shearer here.
That's right. That was kind of wild that happened. I forgot about that. That's true. He liked it, so there we go.
Yeah. You got a upvote from Will Wheaton, which that's the thing where I think that's where I noted the film on the radar with the space boobs. So yeah, check that out. That's some pretty bizarre sci-fi.
Yeah, I would say.
With I've been scoring your movies for a while. And that one I've been accidentally scoring your movies for several years now, I think.
No, trust me, it's been, I don't know what I would do without your contributions, but I just on a personal note, it's great to be able to work with you in any capacity still for this long. So I hope that I'll be making movies as long as you're making music. We'll say that.
Groovy. Yeah. So, on this podcast, when I say I run across the street to watch the film, I'm too young to see at my friend's house, or I'm telling bizarre punk rock stories, it usually includes this guy.
Yeah. Okay. So he's not making this up. I sign off on everything he said.
I've only had the pleasure of watching myself Psycho Vixens, and was Andrew involved in... What was the Terminator one you showed me?
Got the time, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I've only seen the ones which Matt physically appears in so far.
I think he was testing you.
No, I test people with Psycho Vixens. You can't be friends with me unless you're willing to get through Psycho Vixens.
It has nothing to do with sci-fi, but there is a shot that begins on a piece of dog shit and pans up to Matt's face. It's one of my proudest moments in cinema.
Nice comparison shot. But today we're doing the black hole, so let's get into a little bit how we got into it. So you're saying you just watched it on video. This is to Luke. You watched it on video, and
I think I might even literally have watched it on terrestrial TV.
Yeah.
When I watched it, my dad was like, "Oh, I watched this as a kid." I don't think he was a big fan. He was literally just of the generation of kids who they saw Star Wars and would go to the theaters and see anything with spaceships and robots. So. And I remember my only memory of it as a kid was the robots are cool and then it was weird when they went in the black hole.
It's really weird. Yeah, for me, and I'm glad we got Andrew in line here, because, okay, I first saw this, now you remember West Coast Video. We lived on the East Coast, was the big red West Coast Video, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was it before that?
I don't know. What was the name of it before that? There was a video store in that spot.
Yeah, it was the video store in that spot. It's like videos for you or something. And I got the black hole out of I was like 6 or 7, got the black hole in a big clamshell case. And I don't even remember if I liked it or not. It kind of stuck in my head, and then I kind of forgot about it. And every 10 years I start thinking, I should see the black hole again. And I put it on, and there are a lot of, I'm not disappointed I put it on, but then I'm like, okay, maybe reasons I remember this quite so well. But yeah, I was definitely tripping out on this current one. How about you? I know I asked you specifically to do this movie, and I'm not quite sure why, but I think there's a reason.
I'm obsessed with the movie The Black Hole.
Okay.
I always have been. Yeah, it was. My parents didn't rent kids' movies for us. They didn't take us to see kids' movies. It was only if it had something interesting for them. And my dad was a horror guy, not a sci-fi.
You might come back.
Yep.
Anthony Perkins special effects, dark subject matter, and also kids can see it. And I would guess probably the deciding factor with him was also this is a bomb and one of the few movies Disney had out on VHS at that time. And it was probably very cheap to rent.
That's probably where I ended up with
That was how it ended up.
Maybe from the same store.
But I remember that. No, it had to have been because that's that giant case. I remember it. There's something about the twisty, swirling logo, the name, the black hole. It just had a darkness to it that fascinated me. And the movie itself is scary and weird, so it falls in line with everything I grew up on pretty much.
Looking at where this movie shows up, a little bit of getting into the background, it seems that this is kind of considered the last big studio system film, at least with like effects and large budget and stuff. Yeah,
that's true. After this point, all the special effects were done by special companies like ILM and all the other ones that popped up. This was entirely in-house Disney, and the very last big special effects studio movie that happened.
Yeah, and it seems they actually did try to hire ILM, and so it almost accidentally ended up that way. Like they couldn't get help, so they did it themselves.
Yeah, I think some people were called in out of retirement to help them out. This was like all hands on deck.
Merchandising. They made lots of merchandise for this.
Oh God, I would love some of that. I just have the book. The hardback book.
It didn't sell when it came out. Now, of course, it's quite valuable if you come across it. But
I would buy a big plastic Vincent if I saw it.
Yeah,
even better, a Maximilian.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty hip. With the feller inside, with the other Maximilian inside, 2 Maximilians.
Yeah, they could make that.
Just make a good kitchen appliance with those little spinny things. Get your lettuce in order.
There you go. Murder your lettuce. That sounds like fun.
I used to have a Doctor Doom, and you open it up, and you have the fucked up little dude inside it.
Anyway, yeah. Who else? We'll get to the actors in a bit, but the music's John Barry, who did some James Bond.
That's where I know the name from.
That's where you know the name. This, along with Star Trek: The Motion Picture, is the last Hollywood productions that featured overtures.
That's right. The very beginning of it had that great overture. I've heard the score described as overbearing.
Yeah, it kind of is overbearing. Oh, I should punch myself for saying that.
It did that thing, which I guess, is also true of James Bond, so it makes sense. It had one theme, and it used it every 4 minutes.
Well, I made some notes. When I was making my notes, like, sometimes it was quite effective, and other times you're like, oh my god! So maybe you should have written a few more themes, I don't know.
God, what a theme, though. It's terrifying, I find. I think it sounds really... It's so epic that it's, I think, scary. I don't know what it is about it, but it's perfect.
Is it monster movie music?
Yeah, a little bit. It's just that da-da-da-da, that swooping high string sound. It borderlines from operatic to, I don't know, just really
it's
scary.
It's kind of what you called out in King Kong, right?
Oh yeah.
They're putting is this a monster movie with Maximilian? Not quite, but
I mean, if there's a monster, it's just the black hole, right?
yeah, it's kind of the secret. It's not a monster movie at all. I'm just saying that, but
I know. Sometimes I just let you hang yourself. I just give you enough rope to.
Well,
No, it depends on your point of view. I called Faster Pussycat Kill Kill a monster movie at one point in time. That Tursatana's character was like the Godzilla, you know.
but is it sci-fi? Sorry, we were trying to talk. What Jojo Rabbit, the movie you were gonna say? Yeah. We were like, if he goes back in time, we can count that as sci-fi.
Oh, I loved it.
It's only just come out here, so I'm going to be catching it tonight.
Oh, you'll love it. You'll love it. It's great.
Anyway, I'll give everyone else a little more rope and do the plot for the black hole here.
Before you do that, could you pass me my Switch? I'm slowly turning all of my devices to airplane mode so we don't get too much interference.
Oh, I gotta figure out how to...
Just slide it out the top. Slide it out the top.
I don't understand.
No, the handheld console, slide it out the top.
I'm so stupid.
The tablet, there you go.
There. I thought the top was like part of the console. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I felt like once I passed age 40, I like suddenly turned into like a techno idiot.
Please don't edit.
No, of course not. Of course not. Yeah, like before that, it was okay, and then after I turned 40, suddenly when we did the holiday special, I did a bit with my buddy, right? And you didn't get the hour before that with us like not being able to use like 5 different kinds of technology. And then I showed him the short trek, The Trouble with Edward. Did you see that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, where he's like, oh, it's broken, and it was broken. That was like us, you know. I was like, man, it was kind of sad to watch that one right after screwing up technology for 30 minutes, and then watching Edward doing the same thing.
Same thing.
I've heard the story at work about when they bought the new laminator and it broke within a week. Was that you?
That was not me.
Okay. But I've seen you try and use the printers and stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm good with the laminator. I've taken it apart and put it back together like 5 times.
You're like the only person who is good with the laminator.
Yeah. With the printer, not so much. Okay, anyway, the plot for The Black Hole. Spaceship Palomino is coming home after a long exploration mission. The 5-person crew detects a large ship drifting outside of, but not entering, a large black hole. The mysterious ship turns out to be the long-missing USS Cygnus, whose complement included Dr. Kate McCrae's father. After a rocky flight, the Palomino docks with the Cygnus, whose lights have all suddenly come on. The ship seems deserted except for what seems to be a bunch of creepy robots and Dr. Hans Reinhardt, who has been studying the black hole alone for 20 years. He now intends to fly the Cygnus safely into the black hole. The Palomino scientist, Dr. Alan Durant, seems to be into the idea, but the rest of the crew hope to repair their own ship and get off the Cygnus sooner rather than later. The crew explores the Cygnus and eventually discovers that many of the robots are zombified members of the Cygnus's crew once they peel back one of those robotic Daft Punk masks. Reinhardt has enslaved the former crew in a very disturbing way. The actual robots are led by the imposing Maximilian, who apparently is not familiar with Asimov's rules of robotics. The machine even has a hold over the already unethical Reinhardt. Once discovering the conspiracy, McCrae is shuffled off to the hospital for the process. Durant finally gets past his bromance with Reinhardt and is fan-murdered by Maximilian after protesting. Meanwhile, Palomino journalist Harry Booth tries to escape with the Palomino and ends up blowing himself up, while the rest of the surviving crew save McCrae. The Cygnus has begun its course for the black hole, and the now shipless Palomino crew tries to leave using one of the Cygnus's probes. In a wild, incoherent special effects sequence, both ships are pulled into the black hole. The surviving Palomino crew turns up on the other end unscathed. Reinhardt ends up trapped in Maximilian's metal frame, standing on a mountain in hell. And they say the ending of 2001 is confusing. So, did we get that right? I think I got a part wrong. The whole crew doesn't save McRae. It's just the who saves her?
The guy, and then they sort of... Right. I watched this film this morning. I can't remember anyone's name.
I mostly in my notes I mostly wrote the actors' names.
Right.
I went through the wiki a few times and I actually did start to get the names, but not so much from the film itself.
The only names that really stuck for me were the two robots.
Yeah, Vincent and Bob.
Well, and Maximilian.
Oh, right. 3 robots.
Yeah. No, yeah, I kind of forgot Bob.
Let's start with the. I think he's top billed. Maximilian Schnell is top billed. Is that correct?
He would have been the biggest name because he had won a lot of awards for what was the name of that movie? Julia, I think, a couple of years before. So he would have probably been the most decorated at the time.
That blows my mind because now he's like the only one like we don't recognize particularly.
When I worked at Blockbuster, the outside, the little case that they print out with the with the logo and everything, not the case of the movie itself, but the little like insert when you rent it and take it home, it said Black Hole Maximilian Schell 1979.
That's wild because it's like we also have Robert Forster. I kept watching his film and wanting to watch Jackie Brown again.
Oh yeah, no, there's a few because I mean you got the voices of Roddy McDowall and Slim Pickens. I don't know how big of a name Yvette Mimieux was, but definitely Anthony Perkins, I think, would be the one most like genre fans would know from this movie.
Yeah,
and Borgnine, of course, Ernest Borgnine.
People still know Anthony Perkins' name, and in 1979 it was really Maximilian Schnell. They do better. I mean, I'm not slagging the guy. He does one of the best sci-fi villains this side of Ricardo Montalban here, but
yeah, I just don't know how recent Perkins would have had any hits at the time, but Maximilian Schell was coming off of a couple of big, or at least one big role I know, or a very critically acclaimed role. Yeah,
so Anthony Perkins looked a little too old here because we think of him from Psycho. Robert Forster looked a little too young here because we think of him from Jackie Brown, and I think Ernest Borgnine was always the same age.
He always like this. Yeah, no, I don't even know what Anthony Perkins would have been in around the late 70s. He was in Murder of the Orient Express, right? The one they did in the mid-70s. I can't even tell you what else he might have been in of any note at that time.
You're already 2 steps ahead of me, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We mentioned Slim Pickens doing the beat up robot, and then Bob is Roddy McDowall.
Yep.
Not Bob, Vincent. Excuse me. Vincent is Roddy McDowall's voice, and both of them went uncredited.
Yeah, I wonder why. I have no idea.
Well, they still like to sometimes non-credit voice roles just for the, I guess, the later, buzz or whatever.
Yeah.
They might just not have had as good a union.
Yeah.
Honestly, that might have been it. Is for voice work, it might have been the kind of thing actors just didn't,
Well, voice actors in video games still don't have a union. And get shafted all the time.
Well, video games. I know here in Japan they still make, the programmers just work insane hours.
Oh, if anything, programmers in Japan are treated better than in other countries.
Ouch.
Like, video game crunch is awful. Yeah.
Yeah, the most legendary voiceover story that I can think of is the woman that did the voice of the demon in The Exorcist was not credited at all on the first print of the movie and was there at the premiere and just, absolutely in tears. They added it later, but they just totally forgot.
Oops.
Yeah, no big deal. She was just tied to a chair and fed whiskey to do the... I'm not even kidding. That's really how she did it.
Jesus Christ.
So Maximilian, he's very good. Again, I don't really know him, but he's very good here. I kept thinking like this is, just maybe like this, like a Teutonic Khan or something.
Yeah, of the like human characters, he's the one who like grabs your attention.
He just comes short of literally chewing the scenery, especially when it's falling around him.
Yeah. Well, I brought up Doctor Doom earlier. He really reminds me of Doctor Doom.
How so?
Yeah.
Just that, like, no, you don't understand. I'm the smartest person who's ever lived. And, like...
Oh, I did write down my favorite quote, which, excuse me. Oh, yeah. It's time you learn about your failures and my successes, man. They should have just, like, painted a dick on the side of his face.
I'm amazed at any point, did he talk about himself in the third person?
No, that would have been too confusing because the actor's name is robot. Like, could they... I heard they had already named the robot when they hired him. Could they not have changed the robot's name? It's confusing.
Is its name not on it?
Oh, is the name on it?
I know on Vincent it was.
Okay.
So they might have already carved it into the robot.
Maybe it was somewhere on the robot, yeah. But I was like, that's so confusing that the actor's name is that, but the character's a different name, but then the robot has the actor's name? What?
Well, I didn't pick up on the actor's name, so I was super confused when you first started saying Maximilian had top billing.
Exactly!
What the fucking silent robot?
No, that's the actor and the robot.
Okay.
And it's
I caught on eventually.
Yeah, it's not such a common name.
Yeah. Now, at one point when they were approaching the USS Cygnus, all the lights turn on, and it would have been great to just see where the robots had sprayed out Cygnus and put Reinhardt.
That's cool. And I did make a note, like, oh, the lights just come on now, but later they're like, oh, you were doing that to be dramatic. Yes, I was. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
We've turned it into a cruise ship.
Exactly. We already talked about Anthony Perkins a little bit, and for me, it's just like, okay, Psycho, now we're in the black hole. Is there anything else we're ready to say?
Yeah. No, who's not expecting him to be crazy, though? When he sides with the bad guy, you're like, of course Norman would side with the bad guy.
But the movie makes his siding with the bad guy seem irrational, but in reality, it's not. I mean, it's how they film it, right? It's like, it's a direction, but, you go on a ship, I could see where a scientist would be appealed by this guy not catching that he's apeshit insane right up front.
That's the other reason the bad guy reminded me of Doctor Doom, is this kind of felt like a Reed Richards relationship.
Ah.
Like, I felt like he could tell that he was a bit unhinged, but was there for the science.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Anthony Perkins as a Reed Richards. He could have
the look kind of.
He could have been a Reed Richards in the '60s, especially.
Yeah. Reed is sometimes played as a bit of a psychopath in the comics. So.
Yeah. The Kate McRae's actress, I believe, was notable in the '70s, but the name is definitely running out of my mind now.
The character's name or the actress's name?
The character is Kate McRae. The actress is...
The actress was her name. Yvette Mimieux is her name.
What has she been in? I recognize the name. It's someone we don't have on the top of our minds anymore, but was definitely in some stuff.
No, you see her name if you've got the Psychotronic film guide. You run into her name every now and then. But this was definitely toward the end of her career. The movie I love that she's in is Jackson County Jail. That was one of the Roger Corman drive-in productions or whatever.
Oh.
It's an awesome one. Like Tommy Lee Jones, like one of his early ones. Robert Carradine is in it. It's really good, but it was one of the Corman ones. That's the only movie I've seen her in besides The Black Hole.
Okay, I wonder if I flipped to your Psychotronic guide, so that might be where I am having the name recognition.
Yeah, it's a weird name, so it kind of stands out with that X in there.
Ernest Borgnine, of course, is here, and this is weirdly in like the middle of his career, isn't it?
Oh no, not a big Borgnine guy.
Okay, I always notice him when he's in a movie, so. Because I think he was going through the 90s, so this would have been right in the middle. He's just kind of there in this movie, but he's doing his thing, and that's fine.
What's some other stuff he did?
He's in like half the disaster movies, I think.
Oh,
he's got that
Borgnine?
look.
Yeah.
Dude, he was in the Wild Bunch, man.
Yeah. Luke we talked about this. You haven't seen the Wild Bunch. With the
you'll love the Wild
guns
Bunch.
And the blood squibs. Yeah.
I haven't seen anything that doesn't have spaceships or robots in it, so...
I'm trying to think if he did any other sci-fi. He had to have, though. He's all over the place.
But like when Matt says he looks like the sort of guy you'd see in Poseidon Adventure or something like that.
Yeah, he was. The horror movies that he's in Willard. He was in the Poseidon Adventure.
Oh, I probably literally have seen him in that.
Yeah, but the stuff I like him in, like the Devil's Reign, that one. He's in that. I'm trying to think. Escape from New York, he's in. Oh God, a lot of like genre stuff. too, but Borgnine's all over the place and doesn't age. But I'd say The Wild Bunches is maybe his most famous movie.
But yeah, he's just got that Hollywood man face.
And he had that fantastic Simpsons cameo where he's the guest celebrity host to take the boy. They have a different name, but the Boy Scouts down the river and ends up getting them lost and like down a waterfall or something.
Oh, that's a quality. Is that the episode where they're all eating the hog, but Lisa's just licking moss off a rock?
That might be the one, yeah. Before, don't worry, kids, they'll be fine. There's like the woods with like Jason always just Yeah, I think that Blockbuster, I remember you were one of the few people, or Andrew being one of the few people I know that has not had the full run through of The Simpsons.
Nope. No. The movie does have a connection though to a Friday the 13th movie. It's kind of a deep cut. The Sentry robots, the prototype one. That's Tom McLaughlin. He went on to direct Friday the 13th 6.
All right. Is that before the final chapter or after The New Beginning? Where is that?
After The New Beginning and the final chapter.
Oh, after both. This is like way in the future, but not in space.
Yes. Yeah, 6 was the one they filmed in Georgia.
We were together for Jason Goes to Hell, right?
Yes.
That was the
we
best.
Are gonna go.
That was the best screening ever.
It was. I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but boy,
we go off on wild tangents.
One of the best. Yeah.
I
feel comfortable doing that. That was an amazing screening.
Just everyone was like, it was opening night, but people were just like screaming at the screen the entire time. It was fantastic.
It was like Beatlemania for severed limbs.
Every time you tell me about watching films in America, I'm glad that's not where I grew up. In the UK and also in Japan, people are respectfully silent during films.
You don't laugh at the jokes here.
Oh, here in Japan, it's outrageous. I get weird looks if I laugh during a film. I'm gonna get kicked out of Jojo Rabbit.
No, I've been in like maybe one theater where I was shushed for laughing at a comedy, but it was a very highbrow comedy.
We don't get shushed; we get dirty looks.
I think the dirty looks are in my head. You got dirty looks during Spider-Man when you were drunk and talking the whole way through.
I think I just made one outburst.
You made a few.
Okay, that's cool. That was fun.
No, the only time I've been to films like how you describe them was at Glastonbury Festival. They had the cinema tent, so those are great. I watched the 2009 Star Trek in there, and every time one of the crew turned up, the crowd would just like cheer and be like, "Yeah, Scotty, yeah!"
Oh, I would have loved that, actually. That sounds great.
And at the end, when he's fighting the baddie, they're like, "Go on, Jim! Get him!"
That's the way to watch it.
Yeah.
Before we move on, one more actor. I mentioned Robert Forster. I think I only know him from Jackie Brown, but we know him from Jackie Brown. He's so great then.
Oh, God. Robert Forster just died last year. What a great guy. It was an interesting career. I'm a big fan of 70s movies, if anyone can't tell. That's my favorite decade of films. And he had that was his kind of career heyday. But yeah, he had a late resurgence because of Jackie Brown. He worked super steady throughout the rest of his life.
What are his other 70s high points?
Oh, man, you're going to let me do this? Oh, dude, what are my favorite ones that he's in? Alligator. That's like maybe my favorite one. What was another one that he did? There was like Medium Cool, the Haskell Wexler one that he directed.
Okay. I've seen it, or I've seen a remake, have I?
It's a Criterion, so maybe.
Yeah, I probably hit it at some point.
Yeah, and he was also in one called Stunts. But Alligator is so good.
No, yeah,
Alligator's
just yeah.
amazing.
I was just like I forgot he was in this, and I was so happy to see him when he showed up. Like I said, I was like, I want to watch Jackie Brown again now.
No, when you see Forster in this, you go like, I cannot believe he wasn't like a leading man more often. You know.
Really, and of course for me though, he's not old. He was also Out of Sight. He was in Out of Sight, was he? Later.
I want to say, yeah, that was like late 90s or something.
Yeah.
I don't.
With some J-Lo, I think. Clooney and J-Lo.
Yeah, I don't remember him being in Out of Sight, but I could be wrong.
I might be wrong about everything I just said.
he was in the Psycho remake though.
Oh, okay.
The Van Sant version.
That's an interesting connection. Hello, the circle is now complete.
I'm telling you.
So let's get into the amazing design. My first thought is, we said it's in-house effects. Some of it's clunky, all of it's imaginative. The star fields are really good in this.
Yeah.
Just like I just saw Rise of Skywalker. The star fields in Rise of Skywalker are not as cool as the ones in this.
So I want to quickly take us back a second. The whole time you were talking about Ernest Borgnine,
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Robert Forrester. I just looked at IMDb. I had their names backwards.
Oh, see, should have been leading man. When you said Borgnine's got the Hollywood guy face, I was like, I guess. Okay, now that we're putting on Forrester, it makes a little more sense.
I can't believe you called me out on that.
I was just like,
I was like, oh yeah, that handsome hunk. He looks like he should be in all the action movies.
Well, he's got the Hollywood character. I mean, Borgnine has the Hollywood character actor face.
Right. Yeah.
He was in some action movies. He just didn't get to leave the helicopter.
He's the one trying to get off the ship like a bitch.
You go on ahead, Jan Michael Vincent. I'll stay here.
But the design with the spaceships, the Palomino is kind of like whatever, but the Cygnus is fantastic.
I just think by them doing the star fields this way, it really allowed you to see a lot of the design of the Cygnus that you normally wouldn't see if it were just completely black. They were able to bring it out in silhouette first, which I thought was really imposing.
Oh yeah, very mysterious as they come up, which lends a bit to the this is a sci-fi monster movie in a weird oblique way angle.
Yeah, their starfield literally, I think, was just a big, giant painting with holes poked in it and big lights behind it. Very low tech.
We did that.
Yeah, that's where I learned how to do it. I had a book about the making of Black Hole. I wish I still had it.
I'll see if I can find you that shot sometime. That's fun.
That's how they do like laser beams and stuff in cartoons as well.
Yeah. Well, when we were making our kid movies, Andrew's father here had built like an entire train set town in detail so he could do like stop motion on it.
When we tried to do a space shot for a movie as kids, we put a bin bag over a cardboard box.
Well, you got a box, you got a bag.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. That's actually very intuitive. I wouldn't have thought to do that. We had a blanket that already had holes in it, and we just put a light behind it.
Well, you're a filmmaker here. What is your lamest special effect that worked?
Oh, God. That is a really...
I know it's on the spot question, but I mean, if it's just like in the top 10, that's probably cool.
Well, I was going to say, that's the thing. In terms of lame, I can tell you the most unbelievable special effect that we did. Like the one I literally wrote and went, there's no way, and it ended up happening. It was... have you seen the movie Rabid, the Cronenberg movie, where the Marilyn Chambers gets turned into a vampire at one point, but her fangs are not in her mouth, they're under her arm. So, like, a fang comes out of under her arm, and she puts her arm around her victim and sucks the blood. In this movie, we had a woman bitten on the ass by a vampire. The movie is called Lap Dance at the Gates of Hell because she's giving a lap dance and is bit by a vampire. Her ass becomes a vampire. And, you know, you would think, like, well, we could do the hole, but that's been done before in another movie. And so we thought, well, let's just make her butt cheek have fangs. And sure enough, they glued some fangs to this woman's butt and put some little gore around them, and we had her just, you know, stick her ass into camera. And then the person that got bit, we actually, someone made up her neck to have, instead of neck bites, kind of like a cheek print. It was unbelievable, but it worked.
Oshiri vampire! You need to know Oshiri. Oshiri is the rear in Japan.
Okay, I'm into it. Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, that was unbelievable. It worked. No, in Space Boobs in Space, the prequel to that was just called Space Boobs, and I had a treehouse that was supposed to lift off the ground and go out into space. And I really, the trick to it was we took a photograph and cut it out. And so what you see on the screen is the photograph, and then you have the cutout part of it. We lifted it up with popsicle sticks and just blew some smoke in front of it. And there it was. It was a moving photograph. I don't know. I had to have gotten that technique from listening to a commentary or reading a book, you know?
Yeah. I mean, practical effects, usually when you explain, it's like a joke. You explain the joke, it sounds, just like, what?
Yep.
But
that shit works.
Now, just rolling back to our movie, the black hole itself is swirling water with dye, is it?
Yeah. That's how they did a lot of those effects, right? It's just a tank, like a fish tank.
Or even like 20, 30 years later, that's how they did the Stargate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I thought it actually looked really impressive in this.
Yeah, a tank with some gas or some water, it makes for some cool effects.
Yeah, it was about to burst, so they got like a very limited amount because it busted. So what they had is what they had. So that swirl is repeated several times.
Of course, our real wild effects trip is in the black hole, going through heaven and hell, and try and explain that sequence. I mean, even 2001, it's like, okay, he passed through the flashy lights. Now it's over the Jupiter landscape thing, and here. So what happened? There's an angel flying through a cathedral, and what? Who wants to?
Yeah, he goes through Xanadu first.
Is that Xanadu? Okay, like the musical. That was the same year, I think. Olivia Newton-John, Xanadu. No,
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, yeah, just by that point, it was weird, and everything looked cool, and I can't even describe what I was watching there.
I kind of like it when sci-fi takes that weird, just using, well, in this case, basically Christian imagery or like mythological stuff, instead of trying to do something weird and science it.
Yeah,
I say that and now can't think of other examples, but
well, I'll just go on a tangent. I read that showing this in the UK, when they put this in the UK, they edited out the angel flying through the cathedral. It was like too religious or something.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I thought that was a weird edit because I thought they were going to edit out.
Wow.
You'd hear that story the other way around more often, right?
When I started reading
America, where that would get back.
No, when I started reading, I thought they were going to say like they edited out like the mountain and hell part, right? But it's like no, they edited out the angel because it wasn't secular enough or something. It was weird.
Yeah, but that's bizarre because generally, whenever I hear stories about like over religious sensitivity, it's on your side of the pond.
Really?
Like we the UK are famously pretty. I can't even think of the word now. Sacrilegious about all that shit.
No, I haven't been in the States in a while. Do you still? Andrew here lives out where you do see some weird billboards from time to time. Do you still get the weird billboards?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, and plus, you don't even. There's no context. It'll just say in giant black, huge 10-foot high type against yellow background. Jesus. Jesus what? I need to.
You got to say it in the right tone of voice. It's just Jesus.
Jesus, right? It's like, do I need to be reminded what to yell in case I'm going to hit someone?
Yeah, I can walk about 5 minutes from my house now in Japan, and there's it's like a Brazilian church in a former like auto dealership, and they just have a giant sign like Jesus. They also have a bunch of like instruments right beyond their window, and sometimes I just want to play that stuff.
Oh,
I guess
I wouldn't be able to.
Well, no one. I know. Well, it's that would be breaking and entering, so that's why. But yeah, when I drive past, I can't help but just Jesus.
Jesus.
I imagine the billboard does that as well.
Well, we could go a little further north and visit Jesus' grave.
Where's Jesus' grave?
It's somewhere in the north of Japan.
Right.
He faked his death by putting his brother on the cross and then moved to Japan.
Right, yeah.
And then he got Christian knows.
Yeah, there's the tale of Jesus spending several years in India learning yogic techniques. So, yeah. Jesus does everything in the end.
I can't find anything on why that scene was cut in the UK. Maybe it has to do with the fact that it was at the height of the Troubles.
The Troubles.
I was gonna say in the early 80s, in the mid 80s UK, this is big, huge censorship. The Mary Whitehouse stuff.
Yeah.
That must have been it then, because to me it was like that was such a weird edit to make. But
yeah, they were censor crazy on home videos at that time.
Yeah, and although Catholics and Protestants were blowing each other up, so.
Yep.
In this movie, another thing that kind of bugged me about the design. Why are they oxygenating such large spaces in this ship? just wide open spaces with pumped full of oxygen. That doesn't seem very practical.
Maybe it's not. Maybe the oxygen is like kept low by some sort of gravity field.
Maybe.
Probably for the same reason they shout out, "Hey, we have gravity," so the movie doesn't have to have, suits and doesn't have to keep showing them in anti-gravity. Or
I did note that the original concept here was that the entire film would be in anti-gravity until someone considered how much that would cost.
I kind of like the early shot where they like float up into the bit with gravity. That was done quite well.
Yeah, that's cool.
And there's a bit where they're like sat around a table and then he like jumps over her head. And it's just like weirdly well done. I was like, oh, that looked impressive and came out of nowhere. Like
they couldn't have pulled that off for the whole film, though.
No.
No, there's a lot of parts where you can totally see the strings on the floating on Vincent and on Bob. There's other times where it was obviously shot upside down so that they didn't have to show, you know what I mean, like wires and stuff. A lot of ways they were cheating it.
Yeah, Bob is literally like C-3PO if you whap him into the across the head too many times.
They did try, like a lot of the design I think is intentionally avoiding looking exactly like Star Wars. Like I think that might have been their main influence is not Star Wars.
But they want to cash in on Star Wars at the same time.
Yes, absolutely.
I read a little tale about the director of this film. Didn't think Bob looked beat up enough, so he took a baseball bat to like the clay model and said, "Make this, make this Bob." So that's what they did. Somehow I found Bob less annoying than Vincent.
I kind of liked Vincent just because he was such an asshole.
Yeah, I don't know.
He turned up on the spaceship and decides to show off to the other robots. Like, yeah, you guys are shit. Watch this. A backflip laser beam shot.
I list him before I even knew it was Roddy McDowell, who I do like, but I wrote, he sounds like a cut rate Anthony Daniels speaking hardcore techno babble, which I guess are actually half techno babble and half proverbs or something. But
after the start, it's mostly just the proverbs.
Yeah,
and being a bitch to that character who we didn't even mention in our section on characters.
The kid
who doesn't need to be there, as you put it.
Yeah, I love how they tell him to protect the ship and he instantly fails. You can't do anything right.
Yeah, I remember the very start of this film, I was like, this is too many characters all at once. So the film made people have benefited from just cutting him out.
Well, you have to have a crew on your ship, man. They already
put him in sleep like they did in 2001.
So I'm scrolling through my notes. Oh, the disturbing zombie robots. When they first encounter one at the machine, I instantly started thinking of Dr. Phibes.
That's a good comparison, actually.
Is he Dr. Phibes?
No.
Vincent Price. That's a good. I know Andrew has. I don't know Luke has.
Yeah. There's two of them. Those are actually really good. Like they're better than you think they're going to be.
Yeah, the creepiness of this film kind of makes me think of that particular strain of creepy. Is Dr. Phibes actually directed by Corman?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I want to say those weren't even like American. You know what I mean?
AIP,
like
right?
American yeah, I think they were
Pictures,
released. I don't think they were actually American productions.
Oh, okay, that may be the case. But anyway, it just had this weird comic book creepiness, and I felt this film sort of had that in several ways.
Well, I didn't remember the twist from watching it as a kid.
I didn't either.
I just remembered cute robots and spaceships. So it kind of caught me off guard, and it is pretty creepy when you see like the withered face underneath and you find out he's like enslaved his crew and shit.
Yeah.
That's way darker than I remember this like Disney Star Wars knockoff being. Like,
What is their first PG film? Although now I'm like, this would probably get a PG-13.
Oh, definitely. Maybe not Disney, but any other company, probably. Yeah.
Do other companies still make films?
They're working on that.
Yeah. So after this, what was it? It was Black Cauldron, their next PG?
Yeah, and Black Cauldron is the one that actually had things cut out of it.
For being like too creepy?
It's too dark and scary. Yeah, you can actually the DVD has it's like some animatics of it. Like they got really far in the production before I think that may have been right when the leadership changed and so the new guy came in and went, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I could catch up with that sometime. But yeah, I guess this is the first time Disney went dark. That's why they made Touchstone, so they could make... Because this one, I guess they still had to be like, oh, we're kind of a Disney movie. But it's not.
Yeah, no, it was. I think it was intentional to be sort of like in the disaster genre, or at least in the beginning, because it is really like a disaster movie in space. But they also had to have it kind of cutesy because of Disney, and so they went with a couple of with the robot designs. But also everyone was trying to get that Star Wars audience, you know.
Yeah, Maximilian and those guys definitely have a Imperial Guard sort of Vader vibe behind them.
Well, I know you've only seen this film once, but in Attack of the Clones they bring in the new robots, and they just straight up look like Silver Maximilians.
They do.
Yeah,
I never thought about
Battle
it.
Droid, something like that they're called.
Maybe
Yeah, absolutely.
One day I'll watch that movie again, but when I have to. Not before. On this podcast, I often bitch about CGI. I'm not going to bitch about here, but up to this point, this movie had the most CGI of any movie. Mostly from the title sequence.
I was going to say, yeah. Is that the bit?
Yeah, I guess it was this, and it was Tron, so I guess Disney was on the leading edge of CGIing it, maybe because they couldn't get ILM to work for them. The
only CG bit in the original Star Wars is the wireframe of the Death Star.
That doesn't surprise me.
And, Escape from LA?
Right.
There's a bit where
New York. That's New Yorkers.
Which one comes first?
New York's first.
Oh, no, sorry. There's the bit where they show, like, the CG animatic of the city.
Mm-hmm.
It was not CG. It was just green tape.
Yeah, there's a model with tape on it. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
We may have discussed it on here before.
Yeah.
Alright, that's the Super Battle Droid.
Oh, okay. I can see what you're saying. He's showing me the Attack of the Clones battle droid, which I think Maximilian has more of a better posture.
Even more so in the Lego version.
Okay, yeah. Doesn't have the
which
posture,
I'm much
though.
more familiar with.
I was going to say, Sam, I'm much more familiar with the Lego version.
No, we were watching Phantom Menace, and like I remember going to this castle like in Lego form, but not so much in this movie.
Yeah.
Let's take a shift then. How about we talk about Maximilian, the not the robot, the actor, and Reinhardt and his motivations. I guess that's what I'm getting on to.
Yeah, what were those?
I
want to go into the black hole.
But you paint out the Doctor Doom until he turns out to be a lobotomizing bastard. He's not really wrong. It's kind of like it's been so long since I've done 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. What was Nemo's actual like bugaboo? What was his fatal flaw? If anyone remembers.
Well, no, these guys just it's their disregard for anyone else's life, disregard for everything. They're like completely driven by and that's just a type, really,
I guess that's it's been a little while since I've actually done 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I say 2,004, 20,000. Nemo, I can remember. He figured out how to get his food from the ocean bottom and make things out of it. He's got this dope ass submarine. He just wants to stay away from society. I can't remember what's really fucked up about Nemo.
Well, he's like on a revenge kind of a trip mostly.
Yeah. Okay. Just against society.
Well, no. I mean, I think his whole crew, has just been eliminated, wasn't it? I think he's just got a kind of a revenge thing going on.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a while either.
Yeah,
but
I need to reread and or watch that.
But Reinhardt doesn't really have any revenge. He just wants to stay there. And he'll kill people, not kill, but lobotomize people to do it.
Yeah. No, it's a sci-fi type. It's a sci-fi horror type, definitely.
In his head, his mission is for the greater good. But he's sort of stopped caring about day-to-day human life in the process.
Yeah, I kept having I'm trying to rectify it with Nemo, but at the beginning you mentioned Doctor Doom. I'm like, oh, that actually makes more sense here.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that, but I'm like, oh, Reinhardt is Doctor Doom? Okay, that makes some sense.
There's loads of sci-fis where that's the villain's motivation, but now I can't remember literally a single one.
Yeah, but I guess with the scientific progress subtext turn, and that's not always there. I mean, maybe, for their just, I want to discover. I mean, that's Doctor Doom wants to rule the Earth, I guess, in the end, but I don't think...
Well, maybe...
He wanted to bring his mum back originally.
Yeah.
Maybe, Ash from Alien?
Basically the company in all the Alien films, right?
Yeah. Wayland Yutani. Yeah, that maybe he would be a good comparison because he's obviously, everyone's expendable. It's more about the discovery, about the, well, with them, it's also about the money involved.
But yeah, I mean, it's basically we get a surprisingly, even though he's hamming his way through the movie skillfully, it's a surprisingly deep and impactful villain here. I mean, people can go down this road if they get too roiled up in their own obsessions.
I mean, yeah, you've like Elon Musk exists.
He might have like humanoid robo slaves for all we know, making those Tesla cars.
Like he could be doing like real world good with that money, but he wants to live out his Iron Man fantasies. So that's basically this guy, right?
But going to the black hole, is that an Iron? I guess that's an Iron Man fantasy. Okay. Is there a? I guess saying no to the crew is the point of no return, but there is a certain thing. What he wants to do is probably worth doing if you have the science to back it. He's just he's taken some shortcuts, I guess, that are rather reprehensible.
If he'd been telling the truth at the start, like he had let the rest of the crew leave, it was just him and the robots, and he was going to let this crew leave as well. Like, yeah, he's a bit egomaniacal, but crack on.
That's why I was saying, Anthony Perkins, like I said, I refer to the actor to Durant is totally into him until the full psychopathy comes out, so he can be fan murdered. That was an awesome.
That was a surprisingly when Max Williams was approaching him, like, he's gonna get away, and then it goes through the book, and then it's like, oh no, he doesn't get away. He's just getting his insides rotivated.
That was pretty intense. In the book, that was Maximilian's treasure. The actor. God, why do they have to have the same names? Reinhardt's. That was Reinhardt's treasure. I like to think that book was just filled with basically the contents of the Time Cube website.
I'm assuming Andrew's familiar with Time Cube.
I think he is. You're familiar with Time Cube, right? I showed you that, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Just endless rantings about something.
I was going to say we should explain it for the listeners, but there is no way we can explain Time Cube.
It's a blog with no times on it that just goes on forever with really angry ranting about how nobody understands anything. Because you would think you exist in a 124-hour day, but there's 4 simultaneous. I'm stopping there. Okay. Time Cube if you want to look up more.
I feel like Alex Jones right now. You need to search Time Cube and it's going to change your life.
Search the Time Cube! Coming to you from the Time Cube podcast. Oh, okay, there we go.
We'd have to release it 4 times a week.
God.
So our resident psycho, he's not really in the wrong. He's misguided. Is that what we're saying?
He's in the wrong because he turned his entire queue into fucking robot zombies.
No. Our resident psycho. That's Durant. He's the bromance partner.
He's not a psycho in this.
No, he just is. I mean, Anthony Perkins. Come on, he's psycho, right?
Right. No, he doesn't. I know he doesn't even really do anything that misguided. He just wants to stay and watch the science happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The movie kind of paints him as an idiot, right? Whereas in reality, he's not being that stupid because he doesn't have all the information.
Watching it, I didn't even get a big It's just like, oh, he's made a different decision to everyone else. I didn't get big oh fuck this guy vibes.
What I liked again was Ernest Borgnine's Harry Booth's decisions to just keep running away in every other scene. That was fantastic. He runs away.
But man, that's what you would do. In movies, the whole thing is when suspense happens, it's from the person doing something idiotic and going closer. They always want to touch the thing, whereas he is, fuck it.
He just wants to run away. He runs away from the tour. He runs away from the non-speaking robot, and he runs away in the ship and gets himself missiled.
Yeah. Well, he does it. He dies like a hero's death. He really some self-sacrifice. I mean, that was pretty cool.
What? I thought he died a bitch's death.
Do you think so? Maybe I read it wrong. Maybe I've always read it wrong. I thought he tried to do it, a heroic kind of a thing.
No, I thought he was just trying to run away. That's why I got.
Maybe. Well, they didn't catch up with him.
No, yeah, I'm leaving. I don't know. Anyway, the acting in that role is fine. I like Ernest Borgnine. I like him in this movie, so I'm just saying the character is a coward.
He kind of was one of the most Disney actors in this.
Yeah, he's a little goofy and
he felt like the comic relief, just he didn't have any jokes.
We're going out like a bitch. That's a joke.
Well, no, you need those faces in movies like this because it's a very dark film, and so he's kind of like the human mirror to those little cute robots in a way. It's like, well, we need one human. We need a brand we trust. We need a happy face, a friendly face.
I guess the thing that makes this movie a little weird, probably when it came out, and probably a little weird now, is this is following the 1979 era Disney School of Heroism, which basically means like the 50s Davy Crockett show.
Well, I remember, like, apropos of nothing, suddenly the woman gets captured and he has to do a rescue.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, where did this come from?
Yeah. And I guess how the again
And
we
then
talked.
the next scene, they're holding hands. I'm like, was there an angle between these two? Was that ever a thing, or do you just have to have that in a film?
Quick note: her hairstyle is like that because they thought they were going to be doing a lot of zero gravity shots. So it's kind of in that like perm fro. Yeah. So it won't go anywhere if they need to do zero. Like at the beginning stuff in zero G, it won't just it matches. Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, that's smart. Made her look older than she is, I think.
I think it probably did.
I really couldn't figure out how old she
was. But there was
be.
A practical reason for that. Yeah. Yeah, she does look a little motherly to being the, I mean, I don't even know what I'm saying now.
Like typically she would be like kind of like the bombshell or whatever, or the romantic lead or whatever, but because of that hairstyle, she's a little bit. Well, that's I hate to say it's a little butched up.
Yeah, a little butched up.
Yeah, if you're going to do the same thing today, you just give her a very short haircut. But they didn't quite do that.
Except for that, though, and except for maybe that moment where they suggest a bit of romance, she is a pretty ahead of her time character. It's she's the other scientist on the ship and is basically functioning in that role.
Well, that's why
90% of the movie.
When she suddenly needed to be rescued and everything, it felt so out of nowhere because the film had actually treated her pretty well up to then.
They should have made the kid be the one that had to save.
Yeah, but then he would have had a point of being there, other than just to be there to get shit on by the robot all the time. Called an idiot.
Well, sorry, I think we got your answer, Andrew, but how does this film hold up these days?
I mean, I'm still as fascinated as I've ever been. I mean, there's reportedly, and I don't know, there was an issue of like maybe Cinefex or Cinefantastic that was completely devoted to the black hole and its special effects and has a lot of behind-the-scenes photographs. I would love to have a copy of this. I was once told that they had digitized their entire library to PDF, and it was for free online at one point. I would love it. So if anyone listening has that or knows where that is or where I can get a hold of it, I would love to have that. It just, to me, as a production, is just remains amazing because Tron is the one that gets all the acclaim. Tron is the one that's seen as a historic movie. Tron is the one that was a success, and Disney is to this day doing sequels, and it's got an animated series. The Black Hole is just a freaking anomaly. I mean, it is really like the black hole of Disney's production slate. It really is just like this thing that they seem to not. I'll put it this way: a Blu-ray was released, but it is only available to Disney like members or whatever, like Disney Video Club members, which I joined just to get it, thinking that there would be bonus features on this thing. The director still lives, as far as I know. And on the DVD, the old DVD, there was a 15-20 minute making of thing that interviewed a lot of the effects people and showed a lot of behind the scenes stuff. This was nowhere on this Blu-ray. They really do not give a shit. And that makes it to me even wilder, but it is scary. A movie I compare it to is Event Horizon, which is definitely a horror movie. It's like Hellraiser in space, basically. But the thing that fascinates me most about it is you mentioned that at the end, definitely Maximilian and Reinhardt is inside Maximilian's, they're fused together somehow, and they're definitely in hell. But looking at the way the robot is put together, where Dr. Reinhardt's limbs would need to be, particularly his lower limbs, take a look at Maximilian the way he's built. it's not just a climb inside of it deal. Dude was like taken apart RoboCop 2 style. It had to have happened that way. And I think about this shit all the time. Like I'm obsessed with the black hole. I definitely, if you were to watch it now, fascinating, even just from a special effects standpoint.
Yeah, I guess it's the movie that everyone forgets about. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, admittedly, the story for me is somewhat clunky. Like, I watch it, and the design is so entertainingly bewildering. Let's say that, because a lot of this works really well. The story definitely has some clunk to it. It's kind of, some reified Davy Crockett and Forbidden Planet, although both of those are very entertaining, so we can't. It's like an anachronism. It has so much forward and so much backwards at the same time.
I agree.
In that way, it kind of reminds me of the motion picture, in the way that it was obviously made to cash in on Star Wars, but didn't actually move with the times in the way Star Wars had changed films. Like, the pace and everything is still very pre-Star Wars. Like a slower, older science fiction film.
Yeah, I put in my notes that it sort of feels like they're making the big tentpole science fiction film, but forgetting that anything since Lost in Space has been released science fiction wise.
Yeah.
Like, all the tech is there, but like, they're still in the Lost in Space mentality, which is entertaining, of course, but I guess that's Disney.
But that's, to me, what makes it a classic is because Disney is the one that did it. Because Forbidden Planet, I think most people know that are fans of that film. Disney's animation department was responsible for that ending when you actually see what the monster is. That's all Disney animation. It definitely has that look of Disney from around that time. It looks right at home in something like Fantasia. And anytime there's lasers or any sort of thing that needs to be like animated in Black Hole, it's totally a Disney animation style. So it's bizarre to see it in such a horrifying movie.
I did read that their lasers had lights at the end, and they kept accidentally squeezing the trigger. So on film, it kept looking like the crew members like shooting each other because they're just like nervously like doing the trigger. I mean, why wouldn't you? You want to play with that, yeah. But yeah, for me, it's that thing. As a film, it's at best okay, but it is a very fascinating film. And like you said, maybe you're a little obsessed, and that's cool. I can appreciate that. I definitely find it fascinating as a production. I mean, I could take a film I love, and its production probably is nowhere near as interesting as this one.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same place as you. This is a very interesting film and a very weird film. I'm not sure it's a good film. But it looks amazing. It does weird things. Where it fits into like the history of film is very bizarre and unique. But there were also long periods where I was pretty bored.
Like the IKEA crew quarters thing.
Yeah. Well, I remember I put it on and I was like, I'll just check the runtime before I start. I was like, oh, nice, short, it's easy. But this felt twice as long as Space Odyssey did.
Well, it has more scenes.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, that's the way I would say it's a cult film, and that's what I'm mostly a fan of is cult films, and so it has the earmarks of that, which is it's a bomb, it was not critically well received, and its existence is just fairly audacious.
But yeah, that definitely makes it a good. You should watch it at least once, and then 10 years later, you'll probably want to watch it again. So, or more often for some. Anyway, I guess we're wrapping up a little bit. So, Andrew, I know you got many things on the cooker. You want to tell us about a few of those?
Oh, well, I'll just say coming to Amazon Prime, and this is the Amazon in Japan has taken some of my movies, so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for it to show up there. But Amazon UK definitely always takes them. My latest movie coming to streaming is called Bad Girl Dracula.
Okay. Do you have any social medias and websites and things to plug?
Oh, if anyone wants to look up Gonzoriffic, Gonzoriffic, we're on the Face Space, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and all of them have unique content, so it's not a whole lot of double posting. It depends on what you want to see. If you want just pictures and behind the scenes stuff, go to the Instagram. I used the Twitter for a little bit of light journaling, and then the Facebook is like just kind of purely for share purposes, and there's some discussion on there as well.
And in many of those Gonzoriffic films, you'll hear a lot of the same music that you do on this podcast.
Yep. And thank goodness for it. The latest one we did, The Last Person on Earth, it was amazing how the music just kind of fit right. And you were pleased, as I recall, with how it turned out.
Yeah, no, I got some more for you because I think you don't have the new batch, so that'll be forthcoming very soon.
Cool, I'll take it.
And anyway, I'll go ahead and finish that plug for myself then. I live at rovingsagemedia.bandcamp.com, where you can hear some of these tunes, and a few of the Gonzoriffic soundtracks are there, I believe.
Yay.
Luke's got another podcast to talk about.
I wasn't necessarily going to plug that because it's like plugs on plugs on
Plugs.
Fuck it, I will. I do a Pokemon podcast. Luke loves PKMN on Twitter, Facebook, etc. It's literally nothing like this podcast, so you already know if you want to listen to a podcast called Luke Loves Pokemon or not.
Meanwhile, this one, we Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary, finally, I took the time and got the YouTube rolling, so if that's the way you dig your podcast, do it the way I do and just type Matt, Luke, Sci-Fi in your YouTube and it'll give you the
I
page.
tried it just now, it came up really quickly, so
yeah.
funnily enough, no one else who's going around calling themselves Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary, so we're all good.
And then we're at Facebook under a similar name. We're at Twitter under, you have this
MLSFS Pod.
I still can't manage just spitting out those letters this way.
When you learned the alphabet in America, the song like A, B, C.
Yeah.
When you get to the middle, do you go LMNOP?
I do, but not now that I teach
I don't
in
at
English.
work. But it wasn't until I did it at work properly I realised how fucked up it was that I learned it not hearing any of those letters.
yeah, we sing it LMNOPQ, or because if you sing it like we do, 4-year-olds are gonna cry.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a letter called LMNOP.
Very true.
But Andrew, thank you for tagging up with us today, and your late night. It's the middle of our afternoon, but time differences.
I was happy to be asked, and I hope I got some worthwhile contributions to it. I really like the show. I enjoy it's always exciting to see what choices that you make, and I like that it's not just based on new movies. Although I do recommend, seeing High Life. That's an excellent. It's the black hole thing is actually a part of the plot, so that's a great one.
That is your recommendation on air then.
Yeah.
Well, Matt's original idea was 70s Sci-Fi Sanctuary. So we probably would have got to Black Hole a bit sooner. I like how a scattershot approach. We can do pretty much anything.
Yeah, we can go out for the Terminator or whatever and have a run at that, so that's fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, pre-Star Wars and post-Star Wars sci-fi are very radically different, I feel. Things changed significantly.
And I mean, it's hard to do 70s sci-fi without talking about 2001, which you can't do because it's 68, so we stretched out our gum a little bit, but
no, but there was a lot of really great ones you could go for. Logan's Run, Silent Running, some of that stuff.
Exactly. And we will be getting to those, so
cool.
I guess we're wrapping up today, so this has been Matt.
This has been Luke.
Andrew.
So Andrew, you, and also the listeners at home, can please
get the fuck out of our sanctuary.
Next week, the fifth element.
Oh man, I was gonna use triple flipper and I forgot to. Oh well, next time.
Oh my god. It's a deep cut of deep cuts.
I think I've used it 2 or
You've
3
slipped
times.
it into a couple episodes.
Yeah, it's in a few already.
God, that is.
Well, the Maddie guy, Luke tricked him into using the phrase "dope" too much.
Yeah.
So the next project is Triple Flipper.
You know,
Dope was easy because I feel like it was already in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Triple Flipper's going to take some work.
Yeah.
that was literally like my parents knew a guy, and this was the 70s, who thought that he could get that to catch on, and everybody would just looked at him like, "Fuck is triple flip?" You know, it didn't become a thing, no matter how hard he tried.
Well, we've taken up the mission. And
We're taking the mission.
In a weird way, it did become a thing.
Yeah.